Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. I'm doing a series of spotlights on remarkable business intermediaries from across the country. And joining me on this segment is Kelly Hayes. He's the co-founder of Siegel, Greenfield, and Hayes. Kelly, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Kelly, tell us a little bit about your work and specifically who are the types of clients that you specialize in working with?
Well, I'm an attorney and a CPA, and I'm also a licensed real estate broker. My focus is on representing either the buyer or the seller of a business or a person trying to transfer a business down to next generation of children or relatives. So my focus is on businesses that are in the $1 million to $20 million sale range. And because of my background, I'm able to look at the financials and give them an idea of a possible value. I'll also look at the bank financing and assist them with papering the transaction.
I know we've got a recent wave of folks retiring and wanting to sell their businesses after many years in the field. Tell me a little bit about these sellers today. Are they prepared when it comes to selling their business, or tell me what their biggest concerns are?
Well, most of them are not prepared because their decision is a little more spontaneous than it should be. Um, Really, in order to be a good seller, you need to start prepping a year and a half to 2 years before you're going to sell a business at a minimum, so that you can have your financials in order, um, and your other documentation in order uh, to prepare you for the sale. Okay, so that you can make a coherent and accurate presentation to potential buyers. And really, the businesses that I have represented just run the gamut up here in Michigan. They're anything from staffing businesses, salons, to manufacturers, to Tim Hortons.
What are some of
So,
the things that are overlooked? Like, what are the big common myths or misconceptions that sellers may have? Do they think it's like selling their house, or what's that like?
well, one of the biggest problems that I face is that when someone throws out a value to a seller, a lot of times it might be one of their professionals, like their accountant or their insurance agent, or their not necessarily their banker, but someone who will give them an off the cuff remark. Oh, you can sell this business for $3 million, and suddenly they're stuck on that number. And when you actually do a valuation of the business, or when a savvy buyer comes in to do a valuation of the business, they'll see that it's $3 million is probably way too high for the business. And so, as an advisor to that seller, it's very difficult to get them off that number. And the other problem is that a lot of sellers don't really they're they're not cognizant of how their financial statements look. Okay, and a savvy buyer will sort of seize on that. Okay, and realize that, hey, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. Um, and then try to they'll either walk away from a potential sale when it could be a good sale, or else they'll start the negotiation process to reduce the price.
During this pandemic, we've been hearing a lot about the great resignation and people wanting to, leave corporate America, perhaps go out on their own, and oftentimes buying an existing business is like the smartest thing to do. What have you seen and what have you found? Is it really a good time to sell a business today with the number of buyers in the market?
Well, the problem that sellers face right now is that they probably all had a down year in 2020 because of the pandemic. 2021, a lot of them rebounded, but if you're a buyer and you're looking at 3 years of averages, 2020 is a year that creates some negatives for you. I have seen a lot of sellers that will not sellers, but execs who will leave and decide that they want to either start or buy their own business, and they're looking at franchises.
So, Kelly, what inspired you to get into this field to begin with, to help people sell their businesses? And like, take us back a little bit, and how did you get started?
Well, originally I started out in public accounting, and then I went to law school at night. and started with my first firm back in 1988. And I was more focused on, quite honestly, estate planning and other tax type issues. But with any kind of a sale or a purchase of a business, you always have tax issues. So that's sort of a background theme that runs through all these transactions. Okay. And also with the sale of a business, if you're representing the seller, you have estate planning issues, because these sellers are coming into a large chunk of money. So you have to do tax planning and you have to do estate planning for them. And so it was sort of a natural progression for me. I had a friend who introduced me to the Michigan Business Brokers Association, who's a member of the IBBA. And so I joined and started attending their meetings, where I met just a lot of different business brokers. And they all are great at the sales part of it and at finding a potential buyer, but their forte is not necessarily advising that seller or that buyer as to how to structure a transaction. So
You mentioned earlier that, to prepare a business usually take about a year and a half or so to prepare. So besides getting their financial houses in order, what else really should a business owner be looking at to make their business attractive and sellable?
they probably should be looking at their equipment to make sure it's up to date, or at least in good working order. They should be looking at their real estate to see if they have any problems, and possibly environmental, or or their facilities as to if they're in good shape. And then you come across a lot of businesses that where some of the business is done in cash, and that cash might not be hitting the financial statements. Okay, they know it's there, the seller knows it's there, but a buyer doesn't, and a buyer and a bank need proof that of your earnings. So they forget about the fact that by maybe not having the most accurate set of books, they may be discounting the value of their business when they didn't really want to.
Kelly, before I ask you my last question, is there anything that I didn't think to ask that you feel is important to share for somebody considering selling their business today?
Yeah, if you're considering, more from the buyer standpoint, if you're considering buying a business, you really need to do your due diligence about the business, especially if it's not a field that you're familiar with, or you're only minimally familiar with the business. You need to bring in the people who can help you in the areas you don't know, like a good banker, who will know different types of financing, SBA financing or conventional financing, a good insurance guy, a good CPA, and a good attorney. And then let them do what they specialize in, and you, the buyer, focus on the actual operation of the business and what's there and what's not there.
For folks listening in right now who are either considering selling their business or looking to buy a business and would love to speak with you, how do they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
They can email me. My email is khayes, KHAYES, at sghplc.com, or they can give me a call. I talk to people on the phone all the time, and I don't charge them for a call to kind of establish a relationship with them. Our phone number is 248-386-5900. We don't have a website anymore because we found that we don't get any business from websites. Okay, our business comes from bankers, CPAs, insurance guys, and brokers.
Right on. Kelly, I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing with my audience. Great insights today, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Well, thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me.
That was Kelly Hayes, co-founder of Siegel, Greenfield, and Hayes in Southfield, Michigan. This segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.